We have with us Dr. Malcolm Davis, Senior Analyst in Defence Strategy and Capability at Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
My pleasure.
Now, sir, Macron expressed solidarity with Israel, pitched for a peace process with the Palestinians, also mentioned how Israel's long-lasting security depends on the political rights of Palestine. What do you make of this statement?
Look, I think he's summing it up quite well in the sense that on the one hand, Israel absolutely must defeat and destroy Hamas for it to be secure. You can't have a situation where 6 months down the track, 12 months down the track, Hamas, or what's left of it, essentially repeats the atrocities of October the 7th. So Israel must defeat Hamas, but at the same time, they have to do so in a manner that doesn't radicalize a new generation of Palestinians, and that means avoiding needless civilian casualties. So essentially what they have to do is not only win the war, they have to win the peace. And that's going to be extremely challenging given the nature of the environment in Gaza and the densely urban and tightly populated nature on the ground.
Mr. Davis, I just want to bring your attention to this statement that came from the French leadership. The French president expressed solidarity with Israel, similar to what Rishi Sunak did and Joe Biden did. That was similar. But he also reiterated the political rights of Palestinians and how that is imperative for Israel's long-lasting security. Now, that is something we have not heard from the other Western leaders who have made their way to Israel. Just wanted to ask you, when you compare Macron's address and his pitch to the ones made by Joe Biden and Rishi Sunak, do you find a difference?
No, I don't, in the sense that both Biden and Sunak are also articulating the rights of Palestinians. They recognize that Israel must be able to work with the Palestinian people. I think that ultimately down the track, you will need some sort of two-state solution to come into effect. But that's not going to work so long as you have radical elements such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and of course, the puppet master Iran, trying to undermine peace and stability. I think if Hamas can be decisively defeated, if Hezbollah can be deterred, and if necessary, if Iran can be deterred, then you have the potential for some sort of post-conflict peace process that could ultimately lead down the track to some sort of endurable peace.
Now, Sir, Macron also suggested that the international coalition fighting the Islamic State terror group should be widened to fight Hamas. Now, do you see this as a message for the United States? Did he say something which perhaps Joe Biden was not wanting to say?
Look, I think what the Americans do will largely depend on what Iran does in the next days and weeks. Iran ultimately is pulling the strings not just of Hamas and Hezbollah, but also other radical Palestinian groups around the region. And if American forces come under attack from these groups, then America will need to retaliate against those forces. But I would also say retaliate against Iran directly. And I think the Israelis would be fully supportive of that. But at the end of the day, once the fighting is over, there has to be a durable peace. You have to win the peace as well as win the war. And so therefore, the Americans need to work with the Israelis and with the Palestinians that are not involved in attacks on Israel to try and find some sort of lasting solution that means we can move from this constant state of war to ideally what is a constant state of peace.
Mr. Davis, there's one more thing I wanted to just, take your opinion on. The humanitarian aid which used to make its way to Gaza. Earlier, there used to be 500 trucks which used to head into Gaza every day. Then there were, as of now, they currently need at least 100 to at least keep the basic necessities going. As out of those 100, 20 were allowed to pass per day, and now finally only 8 have made it in. So do you feel a ceasefire or a pause is imperative as of now? Do you feel Israel is going to stop?
Look, I think that what we're seeing is a delay on the ground invasion by Israel to try and give time for hostage negotiations to occur and to potentially give more opportunity to get humanitarian aid in. But the risk is that a ceasefire would be exploited by Hamas, Iran and Hezbollah to build up capability or to even launch further attacks. So I think that ultimately the Israelis have been backed into a corner on this. They can't not respond to what happened on October the 7th. But at the same time, they have to respond in such a way that doesn't actually make the situation much worse. And personally, I'm not confident that that delicate equation can be realized.
So just taking cues from what you've said and also what my colleague mentioned, and just for better clarity here, with all these diplomatic efforts that we have seen and the pressure that is now building up, Israel still maintains that it's on track for the ground invasion. But how likely do you think that is at this point?
Well, they can't not go in. That's the simple truth. If they don't go in, then Hamas ultimately emerges as victorious and will be emboldened to attack again. And I think that Israel cannot tolerate an October 7 happening again and again and again. So I think that Israel has made it quite clear that they will go in on the ground in a large scale. What they have to do is do it in such a way as it doesn't create more problems for Israel in terms of leading to massive civilian casualties or radicalizing more Palestinians.
All right. Mr. Malcolm Davis, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on the show with your insights and your perspective on this.
Thank you.